final score, Wrexham 0, Halifax Town 0. And you're going to help me out here, I hope. You see, during the game, I was commentating with Che Long, and the two of us really enjoyed it. I was quite surprised after the match to find that we seemed to be pretty much in a minority of two. I did find a couple more people who liked it, actually, but literally a couple. And so, were we watching a different game from everyone else? I don't know. I'll try and make my case for why I enjoyed it. But, yeah, I guess it does show that any game is to do with perspective. Maybe setting the perspective of both of us before we started watching the match might be quite revealing. So we had both scouted Halifax, and we both thought they were going to be extremely difficult opposition. They've been playing very well since the start of December. They've been absolutely flying. They play a really nice, fluid style of football. They're quick. And I would say that they delivered on that again at the racecourse. So they were strong opposition. Now, Wrexham, as we know, have been very up and down, and I think a great part of my satisfaction was that we met them toe-to-toe. It was an even game, maybe we were even slightly on top, until the last 5 minutes, when it looked like the pace of the game took its toll, and we just caved in a bit, and we were terribly lucky to survive the closing exchanges. But anyway, on to the start of the game anyway. Both sides lined up with a very similar formation, 3 at the back, double pivot, number 10, wing-backs, 2 strikers. And both sides had fairly similar intentions. They moved the ball around quickly. The only long option usually was Wrexham hitting Yusuf, and to be fair, it wasn't just launching it forwards. It was pretty accurate stuff, and he did well taking the ball in his chest and working the centre-backs. So, two sides trying to move the ball around. It was very fast-paced. I mean, for me, the first half was terrific. Despite the fact, I admit, there were very few scoring chances. In fact, there were very few until the last 5 minutes. And Aldershot started to make opportunities. But there was an interesting balance to the game. It looked like two good teams setting at each other. And there were lots of interesting little attempts to try and prise the other side open. With two very similar formations and two similar styles of play, there's always a chance that the two teams will cancel each other out. And I thought it was interesting watching how both teams are shifting the ball around quickly and trying to open up spaces, how you saw the wide centre-backs being used pushing forward. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, since we had the two mobile centre-backs either side of Kelleher, we've looked, I think, a bit more balanced, and you could certainly see that in this match, where Jeff Horsfield, I finally called him that, James Horsfield, as the right-sided centre-back, was pushing on like a full-back, and that allowed Reece Hall-Johnson to get a long way up the pitch. You felt that was something that still needed to be developed. I think Hall-Johnson still needs, to know when Horsfield's coming forwards, when to make his run. I think sometimes he would drop off a little bit and offer to take over, when it would probably have been better to let Horsfield progress the ball and him to go up the pitch and stretch and create space for Horsfield so they could exchange passes higher up. That was something we saw in the second half when Halifax did exactly the same thing on the same flank. Byrne, the right-sided centre-back, got forwards to terrific effect. And the right wing-back, King, who was terrific for them throughout the match, was driving forwards, pinning Jordan Davis back and creating loads of space down that flank for Byrne to drive into, and then they were exchanging passes, whereas Hall-Johnson and Horsfield often were exchanging passes on the halfway line. King and Byrne were often exchanging passes around the right corner of Wrexham's penalty area, allowing crosses to come in more. To be fair, Horsfield is probably the best passer of the ball out of those 4 players, and he is capable, as we saw at Chesterfield, of pinging a very accurate long ball forwards. He's also possibly the best player in possession in terms of when he's under pressure, he can hold on to it. So in that respect, okay, maybe we were seeing two different approaches because they're both setting each other up differently according to the strengths of the players. But I would have liked to have seen Horsfield invited to drive forwards into space that Hall-Johnson had created. I guess the idea is you feed it in front of Hall-Johnson, and then he's got the pace to accelerate past people. And he often did. But his end product wasn't there, which was a shame because he got into some gloriously dangerous positions. Anyway, back to the match incidents. Do it many, really, if I'm honest. The first half was fairly devoid of goalmouth action, really. Wrexham started well, but were aware that Aldershot's pace moving the ball forwards, they were a bit more direct when passing the ball on the floor, was always a threat. We had an opportunity in the 5th minute. It was nice work by Yusuf initially. The ball was driven long down the left channel. He took it really well in his chest and span and beat his man and swung a cross in. Hall Johnson managed to get to it, pulled it back, and Young drilled a shot just wide of the right post from outside the box. A good effort. And Young had another effort a couple of minutes later as well. It was, again, nice piece of work from a corner. We tried this twice, and it was interesting, but not quite executed right. Davis, was on the corner, we put our big men in the 6-yard box, as we usually do. We've seen this routine, haven't we, where we send the 6-yard players into the 6-yard box to crowd, they come back out and then attack the 6-yard box. This time they didn't come back and attack the 6-yard box. They were being used to pen Aldershot. Oh, I keep wanting to go Aldershot. I don't know why. Well, I think I do know why. Maybe I'll get to that in a sec. They penned Halifax in. And we pulled the ball back for Young to have a shot, and nobody could get near him. The problem with it was that in order to make sure nobody picked Young up on the edge of the area, he had to have a very deep starting position. So he appeared to be playing a role of screening the man on the halfway line. He looked like he was staying back for the corner, and then he had to surprise Halifax by breaking through the middle and arriving, and they didn't quite get the timing of that right. The next corner we tried the same thing in reverse with Davis, the player, to have a shot, and the same thing happened. We just weren't able to hit him at a point where he could control and drill a shot in. It was a nice idea. Young did get his shot in from 25 yards and it whistled wide at the right post, not too far wide. Lovely idea. Worth persevering with, although, of course, once we get scouted, we can only use it now as a surprise tactic, if you will. Oh, by the way, the reason I keep mistaking Halifax and saying Aldershot is because this game sort of reminded me of us going to Aldershot during Dean Keats's first spell. We had a really disappointing defeat there. And I guess this is also one of the reasons why I feel positive about this. Because, quite frankly, that game at Aldershot was a shock. We were a rock-solid defensive team. We knew Aldershot were a good attacking side with excellent attacking movement. But they pulled us to pieces with their movement. And I was quite pleased to see yesterday that there was similar movement going on, but our unit stayed very compact. We would press in the first half quite hard in the Aldershot half, and they did the same to us, so it was difficult to find space in midfield, another reason why there weren't that many clear-cut chances. But, having said that, once Halifax brought the ball down and established a position in our half, we really did well to hold our shape, not get dragged out of shape by the movements of their strikers and midfielders. And we were disciplined. I'm pleased to be that. Now, Halifax had opportunities from free kicks in the first half. King drilled in a free kick from 30 yards. Terrific power on it, but it was pretty much down the middle. Leighton couldn't hold on to it. I was wise not to try to, but pushed it over the bar. And then 5 minutes later, the best chance of the half, Summerfield with a free kick, which he swung in to the box from the left-hand side, and, well, that was an odd little incident. Byrne, the centre-back, was completely unmarked 6 yards out, but seemed almost to not realise what position he was in and tried to play it backwards when he should have just had a swing at goal. The ball, he played it back, the shot coming in from Earing was blocked, and then Wrexham had a glorious opportunity, a 3-on-3 break, Yusuf driving through the middle. He had Ponticelli inside him, and then arriving unmarked outside him was Jarvis, and Yusuf overran it and wasted the opportunity. It was a real shame. So 0-0 at half-time. Now, Che and I had been suggesting throughout the first half that what could be decisive in the second half was who tired first. Both sides had pressed hard, both sides had played at a fast pace. It was really quick first half, and you just wondered whether the pace of the match would tell. Well, the opening, until about the 85th minute, again, were similar to the first. The pace had gone down a bit. The quality of play wasn't quite as good. It was a slower game in the second half. But until that last 5 minutes, when I think it was Wrexham who suffered the tiredness and caved in a bit, again, it was pretty even. Wrexham maybe slightly on top. Aldershot. Halifax carved out the first opportunity, though. It was a nice piece of interchange down the right-hand side, a sign of things to come. Byrne and King interchanging. Earing then joined them to create an overload, got past his man and dug in a nice cross to the far post, 6 yards out. Campbell got up. He just couldn't get on top of his header and headed it way over. Couldn't really blame him for that. Wrexham then, around the hour mark, had 2 opportunities from free kicks. First, it was Luke Young from a good 25 yards out, right in the middle, and he drilled it with power, but he couldn't bring it down in time, and it went over the bar. And then probably Wrexham's best moment on the hour, a free kick given right of centre. Jordan Davis stepped up, really lovely contact on it. The goalkeeper went across behind his wall, anticipating it being dinked over the wall, but it was going into the other top corner, and he was completely stranded, and unluckily for Davis, it went just wide. If it had been on target, that was a goal. Halifax came back again with King driving the ball in behind Wrexham's defence. Vassell facing his own goal, brilliantly lunging in to intercept and poke it behind for a corner. It was an excellent piece of defending. He could easily put it into his own net. He hurt himself in the process. He'd been limping. Che pointed this out to me. I didn't notice it halfway through the first half after the sprint. Vassell had an outstanding game. And it's got to be said, he had 2 quick strikers against him, Allen and Campbell. And if he wasn't so quick, Wrexham would have had problems, because a number of times they ran quick players down that right channel, and Vassell's pace allowed him to keep shoulder to shoulder and deal with it. He had an absolutely outstanding game, Vassell. He clearly, but like I say, he limped after one of those sprints. And this point here, 25 minutes of the game left, stretching towards own goal. He clearly tweaked something, looked at a terrible state, had treatment, limped off. Gotta say, it didn't look like he'd be able to come back on, and Wrexham would have had a grave issue because we've got no defenders on the bench. So we were speculating what we would do. A back 4 was our best bet with Horsfield at centre-back, but Vassell did come back on, although not until the corner had been taken, swept in towards the near post, where Bradbury got up and made a good contact on a flick header, put a cross goal, but wide at the far post. Wrexham tried to change things around. Ponticelli, who'd worked hard but hadn't gotten to the attacking positions he'd have liked to have done, was replaced by Thomas to give a bit more muscle up front. Just after that, Wrexham had another outside-of-the-box opportunity. Jay Harris, who continued his good form from Chesterfield, driving in and catching Green in possession, a brilliant, tenacious piece of play. He then drove forwards. I was thinking of that fantastic goal by him against Barrow that won the Goal of the Season award during his first spell. It was a very similar sort of position, but he mishit it, and it went well wide of the right post. 10 minutes left. Halifax started to press and got some opportunities. Firstly, Allen turning and playing a great through ball. Campbell one-on-one with Lainton, or so it appeared, but Lainton was excellent and decisive, came sprinting out of his penalty area and just beat him to it and launched the ball into the seats. The ball was put back in. King then swept in a wicked cross from the right-hand side. Campbell attacking it 6 yards out. Lainton couldn't come for it because Campbell was attacking it. The striker didn't make contact, by which point Lainton had no chance to recover his position, and luckily for Wrexham, the cross just dribbled wide of the left post. Wrexham tried to freshen up again. Durrell came on for Jarvis, but we were starting to look leggy. We did have one more opportunity when Horsfield swept in a good cross into the 6-yard box. Thomas, getting the sort of service he wants, did really well to win the header, but Marr, backing into him, did really well to make sure that Thomas couldn't get the leverage on it to head towards goal, so he put it down in the goal mouth, and Halifax were able to get it clear. And in the final 5 minutes, plus the 3 added minutes added on, we caved in. I strongly think it was exactly what Che and I were anticipating. We got tired, and Aldershot, Halifax, ran riot. We were desperate, defending our penalty area. The number of times they shaved the right post at the Kop end was unreal. It started off with King cutting in again from the right-hand side and hitting a terrific curler, which beat Leighton and went just wide of the far post, and then it really started to kick off again. Earring creating that overload on the right hand side, coming round the sides of the defence and pulling the ball back in. Campbell 8 yards out, 6 yards out, lunging into the goal mouth, made contact, but a defender, I think it was Kelleher, was with him and managed to get a touch onto his shot, and again the ball dribbled just wide of the post. The corner was swept in to the goal mouth, hit a defender and ricocheted exactly the same spot, just wide of the right post. In the last minute, Luke Summerfield, who on his old stamping ground had a really good game, got the ball. He clearly looked like he wanted to make a point. He reminded me a bit last season when we played Woking and he was just so driven and ran the match. Well, he looked like that in this game as well, and he looked like he was going to copy that spectacular long-range goal he got in that match. He got the ball, drove forwards from the halfway line, and with 25 yards out, hit an absolute ripper of a shot, which looked destined for the top right corner, but whistled just past, with Leighton completely wrong-footed by the movement in the air. Added time, and still the pressure came. Allen this time getting round the back of the defence on the right-hand side, pulling it into the goal mouth, where Vassell, who came back on and was hobbling for the last 25 minutes, but still defended heroically, lunged in and just poked the ball wide of that right post. And in the final minutes, with 25 seconds left, Halifax got a corner. The ball, wasn't a free kick in halfway then? Oh, it was a set piece. Lofted it into the box, and Kwame Thomas did brilliantly to win the ball and then chase his header and win a second challenge. Huge defending by Thomas just to defend our goal and make sure that there wasn't one last attempt to score. We were on the ropes, clinging on desperately at the end, but I would argue we were up against a very good team, and for 85 minutes we went toe-to-toe with them, and at the very least we matched them. I was happy. I saw this as a bit of a progression of this gelling in of the three at the back system with a bit more balance, this system with the players who can come out either side of Kelleher. It's working, I think. Jarvis is the right player, I think, to put alongside Young and Harris if we're looking to get forwards. I admit we didn't create much. And I admit that Halifax, they kept their first clean sheet in 17 games. Okay, that doesn't look great. But on the other hand, Halifax has scored in each of the last 12 matches. Their games tend to be free-for-alls in terms of goal scoring. Well, we kept clean sheet against them, and there's something to be said for that. Going through the performances, Leighton didn't have that much to do. Did make that important intervention when he came out of the box to challenge Campbell. Across the back, the three centre-backs were outstanding. Now, the two obvious candidates as man of the match, I think, were James Horsfield and Theo Vassell. Both of them defended heroically. Horsfield, especially in the first half, was driving forwards very effectively as well. Che made Vassell man of the match, and I'm inclined to agree, especially because of that injury and the way he kept defending on one leg for 25 minutes. Between those two, Keller had a very good game as well. He was dominant physically, won a lot of headers and challenges, and the three of them really looked a good unit. The wing-backs, Davis, again, had a lot of quality about him and defended pretty well. They got behind him a lot in the second half, but I don't think that was his fault. It was more just Halifax trying to overload on that side of the pitch. He nearly got his first goal with that free kick. Hall Johnson on the other side did fine defensively, was a real threat going down the right-hand side, got in some wonderful positions, but wasn't able to pick people out. A couple of times he burst past players and just seemed to be too quick for his own good and couldn't stop himself from running the ball out for a goal kick. It was a shame. Hall Johnson is a potential match winner at this level. In fact, to be fair, he's a match winner against Dover. He's still, I think, a bit of a work in progress, but we've got something with him there, I think. In midfield, Young was excellent in the first half, found it harder to influence things in the second, and looked very tired late on. He'd covered so much ground, he'd worked so hard. Harris, pleasingly, because sometimes in the second spell he has looked a bit leggy late on, kept going to the end and seemed to grow into the game more and more and had an impressive match. That door, I've just seen that door behind me opening. That either means ghosts or a cat. Oh, it's him, it's Laszlo again, trying to make another appearance. Hello, mate. Come on in. Jarvis ahead of them was much more involved than he was against Chesterfield. Looked promising, but couldn't find those killer passes that he's in the team for. Up front, Ponticelli worked hard, dropped off quite deep, did some decent work there, but wasn't quite as offensive as he has been in recent matches. And Yusuf in a constant battle with the centre-backs, did well shielding the ball, but yeah, the two strikers didn't have any real goal threat, and that was an issue for us, to be honest. Thomas came on and won a couple of decent headers against centre-backs, did well defensively as well. Durrell looked so fresh when he came on because everyone else was on their knees. He looked quite lively, carried the ball forwards a couple of times. I think that's a good point. I enjoyed the game. It was open and fluid, but I may be wrong. That's football. It's fun. It's opinions. So, remember, chaps, subscribe to the podcasts on your favourite podcast app. Set your notifications on. Do the same with our YouTube channel. We're making money for the club, and the more people subscribe, comment, like, review, and click on the bell for notifications, the more money we can make for the club. But anyway, with the final score of Wrexham 0, Halifax Town 0, not an Aldershot in sight, I'm Mark Griffiths from the Wrexham AFC media team.
Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any of our content, and click the bell to get notifications.